let's look at this Elizabeth Warren and Steve Mnuchin thing, because this is, this is part of it. And the biggest downside of, well, not the biggest downside. There's a lot of more, or I think, worse downsides. But from a political perspective, or from a sort of like moving the Democrats in the right direction perspective, is that with the Donald Trump administration, there's a certain inevitability. It's all going to be about Donald Trump, and it's going to be about David Frum is also on our team, that type of stuff. And the politics gets lost. Elizabeth Warren is, one of those people who still maintains a real focus on political positions and her issue set. Here she is. I'm not sure which committee this is. Finance. I'm not sure which committee this is, but here she is asking Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. She basically, we start this off where she says, where we were starting at the beginning, right? Okay, yeah. So she's basically holding Mnuchin to all the promises they made regarding Glass-Steagall and a new version of Glass-Steagall, and not even a new version. I mean, the Republican platform, and, it wasn't said this specifically by Donald Trump because he doesn't have the ability to get that specific. But the Republican Party platform adds explicitly, we support reinstating the Glass-Steagall Act of 1933, which prohibits commercial banks from engaging in high-risk investment. With that, watch this.
Now, I want to look at the history of this. The president and this administration have said repeatedly that they support a 21st century Glass-Steagall. It was in the Republican Party platform. Donald Trump said it specifically a few weeks before the election. You said, quote, we need a 21st century Glass-Steagall at your confirmation hearing. And now you've just said exactly the opposite. In the past few months, you and the president have had a number of meetings with big bank CEOs and lobbyists. Is that the reason for the reversal on Glass-Steagall?
No, not at all. And there actually wasn't a reversal. So
wasn't a reversal?
No, let me just explain. So the Republican platform did have Glass-Steagall. We, during the campaign, and I had the opportunity to work with the president on this, specifically came out and said we do support a 21st century Glass-Steagall.
Yes.
That means that there are aspects of it, okay, that we think may make sense. But we never said before that we supported a full separation of banks and investment banks.
I'm sorry.
If we had said that, we would have.
Let me just stop you right there, Mr. Secretary.
You're not letting me finish.
Yeah, I'm not, because I really have to understand what you've just said. There are aspects of Glass-Steagall that you support, but not breaking up the banks and separating commercial banking from investment banking. What do you think Glass-Steagall was, if that's not right at the heart of it?
Again, I'm well aware of what Glass-Steagall was. And as you may know, the original concern about Glass-Steagall was actually about conflicts, not about credit risk. And if we had supported a full Glass-Steagall, we would have said at the time that we believed in Glass-Steagall, not a 21st century Glass-Steagall.
Pause it for 1 second. David Dayen, writing in The Intercept, as Julia Maus of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis writes, an important motivation for the act, speaking of Glass-Steagall, was the desire to restrict the use of bank credit for speculation and to direct bank credit into what Glass and others thought to be more productive uses, such as industry, commerce, and agriculture. In other words, separate the vanilla banking from the investment speculative banking. So he's wrong about that. But even when you talk about conflict, that's also part of the conflict. But go ahead.
21st century Glass-Steagall. We were very clear in differentiating it. Now, I now realize, but I had not realized
could I ask you to
that your
answer?
bill was named the 21st century.
Yes, and
Glass-Steagall.
has
So,
been
yeah,
for 3 years now.
I apologize that I was not aware of that. So we were.
But I still
Pause
haven't
it.
heard the
Pause
answer.
it. I'm just the Treasury Secretary, and I didn't know of a piece of legislation that literally a 15-year-old who followed politics would be aware of. Continue.
Aware of that. So we were.
But I still haven't heard the answer to my question. What do you think Glass-Steagall was if it wasn't separating commercial banking from investment bank, from ordinary banking?
Again, the fundamental part of Glass-Steagall was, as you've just outlining, the separation of investment banking from commercial banking, because people were concerned about conflicts.
How do you separate
security.
without breaking up the big banks that have integrated these two things?
Again, the integration of commercial banking and investment banks has gone on for a long period of time. That is not what caused the problems during the financial crisis. And if we did go back to a full separation, you would have.
The integration of these banks, as he's talking about, to my understanding, basically did not really come about until 1998, when Glass-Steagall was essentially repealed by the what is it, the Graham-Lilly bill? Yes. Maybe a year or two before that, because I think Robert Rubin was sort of ushering that through. But, I mean, that's not that long ago. 20 years? Okay.
An enormous impact on the liquidity and lending to small and medium-sized businesses.
Let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. You're saying that you are in favor of Glass-Steagall, which breaks apart the two arms of banking, regular banking and commercial banking, except you don't want to break apart the two parts of banking. This is like something straight out of George Orwell. You're saying simultaneously you're in favor of breaking up the banks. That's what Glass-Steagall is.
I've never said we're in favor of breaking up the banks and separating. If we had, it would have been very simple.
Let me try it one more time. We're going to run out of time here, but I have to try this one more time. What does it mean to be in favor of 21st century Glass-Steagall if it does not mean breaking apart these two functions in banking?
You know what? I'd be more than happy to come see you and follow up and talk about this.
Just tell me what it means.
Had we never came out
tell me
and
what
said
it means
we should separate.
Tell me what
banks from
21st century Glass-Steagall means if it doesn't mean breaking apart those two functions. It's an easy question or an impossible question.
It's actually a complicated question
I'll
because
bet.
there's many aspects of it, okay? The simple answer, which we don't support, is breaking up banks from investment banks. We think that would be a huge mistake. But again, I'm more than happy to listen to your ideas on it. You obviously have strong views, and I'd be happy to follow up and listen to you.
This is just bizarre.
Yeah, and also he's being a bit of a dick there at the end. Let me try and pat your head, even though I know very little of these sort of macro issues that I am now completely in charge of.
Strong opinions.
But, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that it's important we recognize is ongoing, because for all the stories of Donald Trump, and politically it does undercut him. There's no doubt about it. And it does make it more difficult, and it does gum up the works in the House and the Senate, which is I'm totally in favor of, because I don't like what they're going to do. But this is stuff we also have to pay attention to. Hey, Sam Seder here. Folks, you probably heard about the whole YouTube advertiser apocalypse. Well, we're suffering from it too. We need your help. If you want to keep this show alive, you want us to be able to still put out clips on a regular basis, head over to our Patreon page. Here's the link right here or down below there. And just give us a couple bucks a month and support this program. Really appreciate it.